The Lftr, the liquid fluoride thorium reactor. This is a fourth generation nuclear technology, which is, it's almost there. Right now, China is sinking the lion's share of the funding into the research for this. Approximately $1 billion a year they're sinking into it. But it is, from at least my perception, the best potential that we have for going carbon-free electricity and having the amount of electricity that we'd require to operate the planet and the number of people that are on it in a reasonably comfortable lifestyle. Now, the thing with this technology is it was invented. The idea for it was invented many years ago, back around the dawn of nuclear technology. It's a fluoride thorium reactor. It creates a nuclear reaction within a melted fluoride salt. And it's a breeder reactor, which it uses thorium, changes it, and turns it into a type of uranium that it can make energy out of. This is the most simple explanation. Anyway, this technology was invented, basically came up with a guy by the name of Alvin Weinberg, right? He was the guy that basically came up with the idea for the light water reactor. So, I mean, I should have prefaced this with, this is what I'm saying here. This is not some guy in his garage that invented a perpetual motion machine, right? This is documented, on record kind of information, and there's already governments that are putting lots of money into it. Okay, so should just say that. Now the story goes, Alvin Weinberg develops the light water reactor, right? Obviously with a team of a lot of people, they come up with that idea. After Alvin Weinberg had come up with another type of reactor design, this Lftr. Now, the Lftr, in theory at least, showed improvements over the light water reactor in virtually every aspect. Uses thorium, which is abundant. It's everywhere. There's enough thorium in easily accessible mines to power the planet for basically ever. It doesn't melt down. The safety mechanism of the system is passive. Which basically means in a light water reactor, you have to have an engine constantly going, constantly circulating water in order to prevent it from going critical. And that means that if this engine stops working, the whole plant could go kablooey. And which is what we saw in Fukushima Daiichi, is basically all the generators that were all the diesel generators that were supposed to start running and keep the water pumps circulating through the reactor. The tidal wave knocked them all out because they were all on ground level, and that caused all the backups to not work. Therefore, the water didn't circulate. Therefore, the place went kablooey. It was just like, it was a trifecta of everything going wrong at the same time that caused that to happen. And that's a bad thing. But the nature of the Lftr is it's a passive safety system. So basically, if there is any interruption in the reaction, the chain just stops. And a plug melts, and a containment vessel fills with the liquid the fluoride salts, and they solidify. It's completely passive. And the third big thing about it is that it is very efficient, takes advantage of much more of the fissile material that is within it. That means that there is next to no byproducts, right? See, what all the nuclear waste is, what that is it's, say you take a bunch of something and you burn it to get energy out of it, right? But you can only burn about 5% of it, and then the 95% of it turns to this awful, toxic, horrible stuff. That's the that is conventional. That's how we burn. That's how we burn uranium, and we get horrible, toxic waste from it because the process is so inefficient. Because the process is so efficient in this fourth generation, this new reactor design, there's virtually no nuclear waste left over. Okay. Now, why this becomes relevant as to why the reactor was not developed. Alvin Weinberg, after developing the Lftr reactor, campaigned relentlessly through political powers to keep developing it. He was the head of the Oak Ridge National Laboratory at the time. He wanted to develop the fluoride, salt fluoride reactor, and basically said that the light water reactor, which was for the most part his idea, was a bad idea, and that we should immediately start working on his new reactor design, which is superior in every way. Okay. Now, one of the side effects of not producing any nuclear waste, like a light water reactor does, is not having material that you can enrich to create bombs. Now, this was right around the time this whole thing happened right around the time things were heating up with Russia and the Cold War was kicking off. And because this was happening, Nixon needed material which could be, he needed weapons grade plutonium. It's what he needed for his bombs, and you can't get that out of a out of a Lftr reactor because it produces no waste, so therefore nothing to enrich, therefore no bomb. So this is the main reason why this technology was squashed and flattened to, which is a tragic statement on humanity and our just short-sightedness. But, okay, flash forward, what, 50 years, 60 years, something. Flash forward about 50 years, we'll say, and it takes us to our modern age. There has been a new interest and new resurgence in this type of technology. And it's happened completely at a grassroots level. It happened because some curious scientists started digging up some old papers from old experiments that were done by Weinberg at Oak Ridge National Laboratory. And they started looking at this stuff and saying, hey, this is a really good idea and this could actually work. This could be a silver bullet for all our energy problems. Thorium's everywhere. These reactors could be perfectly safe. And there's no risk of nuclear waste or really harmful nuclear byproducts. So they started working on it and they started looking into it. Okay, flash forward maybe 15 years later. It is 2016. China and India are currently the most interested in this technology. China is dumping about $1 billion annually into R&D for this. They started this about 10 years ago when they first started it. The outward expectation was to have a reactor, a commercially feasible demonstration reactor built in 25 years. That's what their goal was, which I think puts them at like 2025. I still think, from what I've been reading, I've been keeping an eye on this whole thing, and it seems like progress is going well as expected. So there's no reason to think we won't have a working demo model of a liquid fluoride thorium reactor coming out of China in 2025. Okay, so now what does this have to do with Canada? Well, what does this have to do with the planet, the world, everything? We should be more heavily involved in the R&D of this technology. The Americans, oh my God, they should be huge into this right now. It was their lab that developed the tech in the first place. There should be definitely a lot of energy put into energy and funding put into helping develop this type of technology with China. We should definitely get involved and contribute funding. China right now is doing this with a budget of about $1 billion every year in R&D. Canada could easily contribute $1 billion every year to China's R&D of this. Canada could also make agreements to have some manufacturing rights and technological access rights to this technology. We should be getting in bed with China, because $1 billion a year is nothing for what this is and for what this most likely will be. I mean, there's technological hurdles, there's hurdles with everything, right? But everything takes time. You know, the first light water reactor wasn't built in a day. They spent a long time working on that too. To have access and to be one of the major contributing factors, especially for such a small country like Canada, to have that kind of intellectual property pull on the scientific discovery of that is, oh wow, it would put us in a very advantageous position in the world.